July 1943. A 16-year-old boy walks into a U.S. Army Air Force's recruiting station in California. He wants to be a fighter pilot. The recruiter looks at him, looks at the birth certificate. It says 18. The recruiter doesn't believe it, but the paperwork is in order, and the Army needs pilots. Badly all right, kid. Sign here. 2 years later, that 16-year-old kid is a fighter ace. 18 confirmed kills, a captain, leading his own squadron. And nobody knows he's still too young to vote. This is the true story of Charles "Chuck" Older, the youngest American fighter ace of World War II, who lied about his age to fight and became a legend. Chuck Older grew up in Los Angeles, aviation obsessed, built model planes, read every aviation magazine, dreamed of flying. But in 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, Older was only 14, too young to enlist, too young to fight. He watched his older classmates join up, ship out, go to war, while he stayed home, finished high school. Waited by 1943, Older couldn't wait anymore. He was 16, looked 18, could fake the paperwork, so he did. He forged his birth certificate, added 2 years, walked into the recruiting station, and enlisted. The recruiter suspected something, but didn't care. The war was consuming pilots faster than the training schools could replace them. If the kid wanted to fly, let him fly. Older went through basic training, then flight school. He was a natural, top of his class. Fast reflexes, perfect vision, instinctive understanding of aircraft. By the time he graduated, the instructors knew he was special. They didn't know he was 16. In 1944, Older was assigned to the 23rd Fighter Group, the Flying Tigers, the legendary American volunteer group that fought in China. He flew P-40 Warhawks, then P-51 Mustangs, against the Japanese. His first kill came on his third mission, a Japanese Zero. Older saw it below him, 2,000 feet. He dove, lined up, fired. The Zero exploded. Older pulled up, hands shaking. He'd just killed a man. He was 17 years old. Squadron commander radioed him. "Good kill, Older. How do you feel?" Other keyed his mic. His voice was steady. "Like I want to do it again, sir." Over the next year, Older became one of the most aggressive pilots in the squadron. He volunteered for every mission, every patrol, every strike. His commanders thought he was fearless. He wasn't. He was terrified every single time. But he was also 17, and 17-year-olds think they're invincible. By late 1944, Older had 18 confirmed kills. He was an ace 5 times over. The Army promoted him to captain, gave him his own flight to command. 12 pilots under him. Some of them were in their 30s, combat veterans with families back home. And they were taking orders from a kid who couldn't legally buy a beer. Nobody knew. Older never told anyone his real age, not his wingman, not his commanders, not even his family in his letters home. He wrote about missions, about combat, about kills, but never mentioned that he was still a teenager. In March 1945, Older's luck ran out. During a strafing run over a Japanese airfield, ground fire hit his P-51, 20mm shells. The engine seized, oil sprayed across the windshield. He was going down. He tried to restart, pumped the throttle, hit the starter. Nothing. The engine was dead. He was 5 miles behind enemy lines. He had 2 options: crash land and become a prisoner, get tortured, maybe executed, or bail out and hope the Chinese guerrillas found him before the Japanese did. He bailed out, a parachute deployed. He drifted down, landed in a rice paddy, 3 miles from the Japanese lines. For 3 days, he evaded Japanese patrols, slept in ditches, ate raw rice stolen from fields, drank from puddles. On the 4th day, Chinese guerrillas found him. They didn't speak English. He didn't speak Chinese, but they recognized his uniform. American pilot. They took him to their base, fed him, gave him water, then escorted him 200 miles back to Allied lines, through Japanese-occupied territory, at night. Avoiding patrols, it took 2 weeks of walking. When Older finally made it back to his squadron, his commanders were shocked. They'd written him off as dead, listed him as missing in action, started the paperwork to notify his family. "Older, we thought you were dead." He grinned, exhausted, covered in mud. "Takes more than the Japanese army to kill me, sir." He flew 16 more missions, brought his total to 18 confirmed kills. The war ended in August 1945. Older was 19 years old. He'd spent his entire adolescence at war. When he returned to the United States, the Army finally discovered the truth. A routine records check his birth certificate didn't match his enlistment papers. An investigation, an interview. "Captain Older, how old were you when you enlisted?" 16, sir." Silence. "You lied about your age." "Yes, sir." "Why?" "Because I wanted to serve, sir. And I knew if I told the truth, they wouldn't let me." The Army could have court-martialed him, dishonorably discharged him, stripped his rank and medals. Instead, they promoted him. They needed experienced pilots for the occupation of Japan, and Older was one of the best they had. Chuck Older stayed in the Air Force, flew in Korea, flew in Vietnam. Retired as a brigadier general in 1993. 50 years of service. When he finally retired, a reporter asked him, "You lied to get into the war? Do you regret it?" Older smiled. The smile of an old man who'd lived a full life. "I regret lying. I don't regret serving. I did what I thought was right, okay? And I'm proud of it." Another reporter asked, "What was it like being a 16-year-old fighter pilot?" Older's answer was honest. Raw, terrifying, exhilarating, stupid. "I was a kid playing a man's game. I got lucky. I survived. A lot of men better than me didn't. That's war. You don't choose your age. You don't choose your time. You just do what needs to be done." Charles Chuck Older died in 2013 at the age of 87. At his funeral, his son read a letter Older had written years earlier, to be opened after his death. "I was 16 when I first killed a man. 17 when I became an ace. 19 when the war ended. I lived an entire lifetime between 16 and 19. And I've spent the rest of my life trying to make sense of it. War steals your childhood, but it also teaches you who you are. I learned I was brave. I learned I was capable. And I learned that age doesn't matter. What matters is what you do when it matters most. I was 16, but I did what had to be done. And I'd do it again." That's the story of the boy who became an ace. Because sometimes, courage has nothing to do with age. And everything to do with choice. Pausa to segundos. That's the story they never taught you in school. If you want more untold stories of World War II's bravest pilots, subscribe now. New mission drops every week. Which hero should we honor next? Tell me in the comments. Fly safe.